So I think there's been a delightful update, and it's in regard to Mission 70, by the way. Now, nothing I say is financial advice, but let me just refresh everyone a little bit when it comes to Mission 70. Mission 70 is apparently this strategic plan, they say, to reduce ICP inflation by 70% by the end of 2026. Now, that seems like a very ambitious plan, but Dominic Williams, who's the founder of Dfinity, recently made a post. He said how Mission 70 has moved into the realm of implementation. Now, he made this like a couple days ago. So he basically said that the first ICP pull request has hit GitHub, and he says there's going to be more developments coming. However, it's a very vague statement in my opinion. I mean, there's not much details I can go off there, but actually at the same time, I do find it to be pretty cool because it seems like they're kind of sticking by what they want to do in regard to Mission 70. Because again, they still care about it. A lot of people thought that when it was kind of first announced, they were probably just going to do it as a marketing thing, but it doesn't seem like that to me. It seems like they're actually treating it pretty seriously. So I do like seeing that. But at the same time, though, ICP, even though I'm still thinking about $100, but I'll get into later as to why this is not the only thing I'm thinking about, but I'll talk about this real quick, right? Some people out there like to say, oh, why hasn't much happened when it comes to ICP? Well, first of all, if my intent was to find things that are giving me instant gratification, if I'm looking for instantaneous things, I would not be in this space, right? This space sometimes to me, I feel like could take quite a while. It's like growing a tree. It's a bit different than, making instant noodles. And actually a better example or a better analogy, I would say, is like, for instance, if my intent is to make a stew, it may take hours, it takes quite a while, but that's the nature of making a stew, at least personally for me. It's different than eating instant noodles. That's pretty quick to make, right? A stew takes time, energy, effort. By me, dollar cost averaging once a month and waiting like that, that's like making a stew. It takes quite a while. But that's the nature of it, right? And if my intent wasn't to wait that long, I wouldn't even bother with that. That's the thing. But the fact that I bothered anyways, it showcases that, first of all, I had to be willing to know of the timeline. Maybe, right? Potentially, I would say that it might take quite a while for me to make that stew. I can't take a making instant noodles type of mentality and wanting things to happen fast and then apply it to making a stew. It just makes no sense. So when I take a look at this space right here, I knew that it might take quite a while. However, do I know the exact time? No way. However, I felt like I'd pretty much have to wait for quite a while anyways. So when people like to tell me, oh, if it doesn't happen like this in a couple of days, in a couple of weeks, again, I'm not even thinking about that because my mindset is maybe what could happen in the long term. Because who knows exactly when the market could wake up. But anyways, right, if let's say the market hypothetically were to wake up, let's say maybe in a couple of weeks or whatever, who knows, we'll wait and see. But I'm just saying, in a totally random make-believe scenario, if that were to be the case, it's kind of like going along with the ride because I was waiting the entire time anyways. I was holding. But also at the same time, if it may take quite a while, I'm comfortable with that anyways because I kind of felt like that was what I originally set out to do anyways, right? I knew that by me being in this space, I'd probably have to wait for quite a while. So that's what I'm doing as of right now. But nonetheless, though, ICP is around 37.5 times lower than $100. In which case, at $100, actually, the market cap at that point, if we were to consider the current circulating supply of ICP, again, the market cap would be around 55 billion, which is still around 30 billion less than Dogecoin's market cap at one point back in 2021. So this is not such an outlandishly massive market cap that we've never seen before. We've seen a meme actually far exceed that. But even besides that point, though, like I mentioned earlier on in the video, if it never even goes to like 100 when it comes to ICP, that's not a concern for me either. Because if I take a look at it, if ICP just goes back to like, let's say $10, right? We're still over 3 times lower than that. So I'm not going to complain. Could you imagine if Bitcoin did like a 3x or whatever? Like a lot of people would think it's the greatest thing of all time from where it is as of right now. So why would that be any different for other projects? That's the way you take a look at it. If some people out there care so much about a 300% movement or whatever, why would it be any different when it comes to ICP, right? ICP being an altcoin, to me at least, doesn't change the fact that if it did like a movement like that, again, in the hundreds of percents or whatever, it doesn't mean that it randomly became bad just because ICP is an altcoin. I don't agree with that. I feel like if I'm holding any project, right, a 300% movement is a 300% movement at the end of the day. It almost doesn't even really matter what project it is. I feel like as long as it did that, that's pretty impressive. It's not like, oh, it's impressive only for these amount of projects, and then for the other ones that did around a 300%, it's not impressive. No, I don't agree with that. So when people like to say, well, if ICP just went back to $10, isn't that boring? Well, no, I disagree with that because again, we're over 3 times more than that. It doesn't mean it could. However, we did see around $10 not that long ago, back in 2025, but I'm just saying, like, if it could go back to that moment, I don't think it's boring either. Like, why would that be boring? I just don't get it. But this is just my mindset. Because if Ethereum, you know, went to like 12 grand or whatever, a lot of people would be like, oh, wow, right? But then if ICP goes back to $10, it's considered boring. Yeah, I don't agree with that personally for me, but this is just my mindset. However, in the meantime, though, like if it goes anywhere between 10 to 100 when it comes to ICP, I'm not going to complain either way, in my opinion. Just because ICP is kind of below $3 as of right now. So if it could go to 10, I don't mind. If it goes to like 100, I'd be happier. But I'm just saying, if it just only maybe went to $10, I'm not going to complain about that. Like, I don't think it's a bad thing personally, in my perspective. However, at the same time, if we consider again kind of the core goal and core focus of Mission 70 to maybe reduce, right, in my opinion at least, 70% of ICP inflation by the end of 2026, isn't that kind of impressive? I mean, a lot of other projects out there don't care about this type of stuff. Quite frankly, if this was not even something that was cared about, I highly doubt a lot of people would kind of complain anyways. A lot of people didn't even think about this anyways. So the fact that it's even being cared about anyways, I think is actually pretty impressive. And I think it showcases kind of the effort, right, that Dfinity has put in, or should I say Dominic Williams. Again, I think it showcases that they still care about ICP. So again, at the end of the day, as of right now, all I'm doing is waiting. I mean, I can't really do much beyond that actually, but that's all I'm doing. But again, I treat it like a stew, right? I treat it like a slow boiling pot. That's the way I take a look at it. I might have to wait for quite a while, but that's what I set out to do anyway. So I don't treat this like, eating instant noodles or making instant noodles. No, that's not the way to take a look at it. I treat it like a stew, right? Might take quite a while, but I'm willing to wait, so I'll be waiting, but I'm not telling anyone to do anything. However, I just want to say thank you for watching, and I hope you all have a very nice day. It's Melody the Captain, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one. I'm out. Peace. Bye.